Hey guys, Hutch here. Okay, so I decided that I have too much stuff going on around in my brain, so I'm doing a new feature called Tangent Tuesday, in which I kind of ramble on for a few minutes about something that's been on my mind. And this week, something I cannot stop thinking about is what happened with Charlotte Bevan and her little baby. If you're not aware of this situation, this lady had a little baby in a hospital in England. Excuse me, I think I'm coming down with something. And 2 days later, she went missing. Now, this lady walked out of the hospital. She had a history of depression. She had a history of schizophrenia. She stopped taking her medication because she wanted to breastfeed her baby. This lady committed suicide with her baby. Okay? That actually gives me goosebumps. She killed her child, and it's just completely, it's beyond me, but it really hits home. This lady obviously was ill. She needed help. She was completely failed by this system. You know, I've overheard people saying, how could anybody do that to their child? How could they do? She is ill, okay? Mental illness. She was ill. Mental illness is just as much an illness as breaking your leg, okay? You have symptoms, you have ways to fix this. The way you fix mental health illness is by medication, possibly. If it works for you, it works for you. Counselling, etc., etc. Nobody told her. She thought she could not take her medication while she was breastfeeding. Now, I am a huge advocate of breastfeeding. I think every woman should at least try it. I'm still breastfeeding she's over 2.5 now. I'm still breastfeeding her on demand. And I am also on a high dose of sertraline for postnatal depression. Now, I have so much in my head I'm trying to get out, so it's kind of going all over the place, but this is something that really, like I said, really hits home for me. You can take medication for depression when you're breastfeeding. It is not being tested on breastfeeding women or pregnant women because that is obviously unethical. The pharmaceutical companies will write on the package, this is not suitable for breastfeeding women, but doctors will prescribe it, okay? It's about weighing up the risks. For me, the risks of a very small amount of this going into my milk was worth, I was ill. I still technically am ill, but I'm on this medication now, which is really helping me. I was so ill. After having my first child, in my history, it doesn't really rear its head until about 4 months after having the baby. After I had Poppy, about 4 months later, I still remember I was just a complete mess, and I still remember the breaking point there was my dad taking me for a drive. We were down at his house, taking me for a drive to talk because I had just gone on a complete meltdown. I had a complete meltdown. I said things that were not me. You know, I try to be a good person, and things that I said were just horrible to my own mum. And that was it. And the next day I went to the doctors, got medication, got put into counselling, and that ran its course, and I got better. After having Lola, it was so much worse. Again, it didn't really show itself until about 3-4 months. I was hearing voices telling me that this child was not mine. I was having fantasies every single day of hurting my children. Okay, I would never have done it, but I would fantasize about throwing them in front of a car. That is not normal. If you're watching this and you have this, any of this is like registering with you, if you recognize any of this, please, I'm going to put a link down below to what's called the Edinburgh test, and it will help you kind of figure out whether you could have postnatal depression. It is something that is still taboo. A lot of people still think, especially because we really wanted our children. Not that other people don't want their children, but our children were both planned. We wanted them very, very much. We went through a lot of heartache to get pregnant and stay pregnant both times. So a lot of people just kind of think, you know, she's got what she wanted. I mean, you should just love your baby. It should just come naturally. You should love your baby. You should, of course I love them, but you should be sitting in this with this warm glow around you and everything's perfect. And, you know, it doesn't work like that. That is not real life, okay? That is not real life. Some people struggle. I was one of them. I've struggled a lot. And had I not had the incredible support that I had, especially after Lola, I could have ended up like Charlotte Bevan. And I'm not kidding. The breaking point after Lola was when Barry was so close. I remember him asking me, we're sitting in the living room and I hadn't got dressed, washed or eaten all day. I was still on a sofa in my dressing gown, and he said, do you even want to be a parent anymore? And I kind of went, I didn't really know how to answer. And that, who doesn't know how to answer that question? I mean, that is, of course I still wanted to be a parent, you know, but at that time I was just like, I want to run away and get on a bus and leave all this behind me, you know. He was ready for quitting his job, taking the girls and moving out. That's how bad it was. It nearly destroyed my marriage, and honestly, what I put that man through was hell on earth. I can say hand on heart, if it had been the other way around, I probably would not have stayed with him. I genuinely wouldn't have. Did he understand that all this was because of my illness? I don't know. At times I felt like this was just who I was. This is just who I was now. I was a complete mess, a total and utter mess. I did not want to do anything. I just wanted to go to sleep and never wake up. And that's not in a suicide, well, it could have been in a suicidal way. But I just wanted to go into my bed, put the duvet over my head and not wake up and not have to deal with any of this. It was, I mean, that poor woman, she was so ill, and she has been completely failed by the NHS, and she's not the first, and I'm sure she won't be the last. So can I just reiterate, if you're breastfeeding or pregnant and you think you may be depressed, please click that link down below. Please, please. I cannot urge you enough. It's so, so important. And this needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about, because depression as a whole is still taboo. People still think, you know, the old British, what's the phrase? The old British, just pull yourself together, that type of thing. Get on with it. What have you got to be depressed about? Depression is not always a logical thing. In fact, most of the time it's just a chemical imbalance in your brain that can be corrected with medication. If you don't like taking medication, it's the same as putting a cast on a broken leg. This is how you fix it. If there is more going on and there are reasons, for example, debt or relationship issues, counselling can help you fix this. And it doesn't have to be a massive waiting list. It doesn't have to be paid. You can get this free through your GP surgery. And it really helped me as well. I was in counselling with a lovely lady called Emma weekly it was supposed to be 8 weeks, which is a bit ridiculous considering how the state I was in. But it ended up running for about 6 months, and it came to a natural end. We both agreed that it was time for me to stop seeing her, because I think I was starting to become dependent on her. And I think now that I think about it, I need that kind of outlet to spill out what's been cooking in my brain, because I have a very overactive brain, I guess. I mean, sometimes I do think I might have ADHD, but, you know. See, my brain's going away. Anyway, this is why it's called Tangent Tuesday, because I'm just going on a complete tangent now. I'm going whoop, up left. So, I'm just going to say this one more time. I know I've said it a couple of times, but if you think you may be depressed, please click that link, do the test. If you think you may harm yourself or your baby, or you're having these kind of thoughts, please speak to someone, okay? If it's a friend, in an online forum, your doctor, even phoning Lifeline. Lifeline is not just for, it's as if you're in the UK. Lifeline is not just for if you're feeling suicidal, if you're having suicidal thoughts. Lifeline can organise counselling for you over the phone. I have phoned them quite a few times, and they actually log all your details. The first time you call, you tell them what's going on. They log everything like that. So the next time you phone, if you're not speaking to the same person, the person you do speak to can read through this, think this is what her issues are, and they know, you know, what kind of things to talk about, what kind of things to completely avoid. And they are absolutely amazing. I used to phone them every single morning for a time. So yeah, you can phone them and just have a chat if you need to. So yeah, just a roundup of what the whole point of this video is, you can take antidepressants when you're breastfeeding and pregnant. And if it comes down to it, if you don't want to breastfeed because of the risks aren't worth it for you, can I just say, you know, to put it bluntly, if you think you may have depression but you're not taking medication because you're afraid of the risks, what if you end up like Charlotte Bevan? Okay, is it really worth it to breastfeed? Okay, just something to think about. And that's me done for today. See you later. Thanks for watching.